Hello folks, today I'm going to show you how to change an alternator on a 2001 Toyota RAV4. And your first step is to disconnect your battery. But before we do that, let's go over some of the tools you'll need to take the alternator off. So let's go over here. You're going to need a short pry bar, a 1/4-inch drive ratchet with an extension and a 10mm socket. You'll need a 12mm socket, a 14mm socket with an extension, a long-handled 3/8 drive ratchet, and a 10mm wrench. So let's use our 10mm wrench to disconnect our battery, and then we'll move to the next step. Alright, we got the battery disconnected. So now we're going to move to the next step, which is to remove the drive belt, which drives all your components on the front of your motor. And to do that, I'm going to use this tensioner tool, which connects to the front of your tensioner, and that will move our tensioner to take the belt off. And on the side of my fender, I put a little diagram that'll give me my belt routing, so when I put my belt back on, I won't forget which way the belt goes on. You see here I got power steering pump, your tensioner, crankshaft, your AC compressor, water pump, and alternator. That way it gives me the route to go around all your pulleys. I almost forgot. Before you get your tool in there to take your tensioner loose, you want to disconnect your little ground wire right here that connects to the block of the engine. Just disconnect that and get that out of the way. Okay, I got my tool connected to my tensioner, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pry back on it like this, and you can see how that loosens the belt up. And if you look down here, there's a water pump pulley right here, right there. When you get that loose, you just hold tension on the tensioner tool, and then slide it off the water pump pulley. Alright, we got that done. Now all I gotta do is already got it off the water pump pulley. So now we just move that out of the way and slide our belt off our alternator and just let it hang. And hopefully you just let it hang like that, and the belt won't come off all the pulleys. So all you'd have to do is just pull it back up to the alternator and slip it back onto the water pump when you're all done. So we'll move to the next step, which is to disconnect all your wires. You might want to get the dipstick out of the way and take your 10mm bolt off your back of your alternator, which is your power wire, your charge wire. These are your O2 sensor wires. Just disconnect those and move those out of the way, and then we'll move to the next step after that. Okay, we got all that disconnected. We got our wires disconnected, we got our charge wire disconnected, and right on top of here is a small bracket that holds your O2 sensor connectors. Take that off so that when you put your new one on, you can move it to the new alternator. And the next step is to take this bolt off here, which is a 14mm, and then you have one underneath the alternator, which is a 12mm. Just use your short extension on there so you get clearance for your ratchet. Alright, I got the bottom one out. As you can see, it's a 12mm bolt. It's pretty long, and it's kind of tough to get out, but you just be patient and just work it out until it comes out. The other bolt you want to take out is this one right here. If I can see it, right there. That's a 14mm bolt. You just take that one out, and since we already got the bottom one out, once we get that out, we should just use our pry bar to pry it a little bit and wiggle it, and the alternator should come right out. Alright, I got it broke loose. So now we should get down in there, get that bolt, turn it a few times, get it come out, and sometimes your fingers get greasy and you can't get a grip, so you just grab your socket, slip it on there like that, and just use your socket to work it out. You have to be kind of a contortionist in order to get into some of these transverse engines sometimes, but as long as you're able to bend yourself in a certain manner to do these jobs. But it should come right out here in a second. There we go. Come here, you. There we go. Come right on out. There you go. That's your 14mm bolt. And that bolts right into your block. And that helps hold your alternator in place. We'll lay that up there. And now we'll just get our pry bar. We're going to pry it right down in here. We'll pry it a little bit and wiggle it, and it should come right out. Alright, got our pry bar in there, and we wiggle it a few times and it slipped right on out. But I want to show you something. Before you put your new alternator in, this alternator here has got a little tab right here. Sometimes if you get your new alternator, it won't have one of them. And if it does come with one, make sure you take a little hammer and tap on it a few times to get it to slide out a little bit. So when you put your alternator in, this little bracket right here will slip right inside of here. It's going to fit in here, but this will be out too far and you'll have a hard time getting it back in. So you just take your little hammer and just tap on that a few times and get it to come out a little bit. So you give you some more space so that alternator will slide in a lot easier. Alright, we got our new alternator out. And we can see that it has our little bolt on there. Take that off. And sometimes these alternators don't come with hardware, so always try to save your old hardware so that you can use it on the new product or use it on your new alternator. The newer vehicles have what's called a ribbed serpentine belt, and you want to count the ribs on the pulley so that it matches the old pulley, because some of them might have 4 ribs, some of them have 5. This the one that came off had 6 ribs, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This has got 6 ribs, so that's the correct pulley for this vehicle. So you want to, whenever you take your old one off, make sure the pulley is correct so you don't destroy your belt.